My name is Nick Mourtos, and I'm the president of the condo board at 101 Peter Street. This is my last year, so it's been 3 years. At the beginning, it was very painful, but we worked through a bunch of issues. We used to store incident reports in Word format. They would get saved in some network folder, and then either once a quarter or once a year, I used to compile them in a simple Excel to do some keyword searches, etc., or aggregate on certain attributes. And we also earmark whether a suite or a guest is associated with an Airbnb unit, so we can parse out, okay, how many infractions are coming from people who live here long-term versus short-term rentals. The big selling point was the ability to distribute electronically our budgets and possibly our AGM materials through the software. Everyday tasks across all of our employee base, that much easier. And we have, a single point of contact for virtually all our processes, and, a single solution that encapsulates so many of the use cases we run through across property management, security, even cleaning, because we use all of our keys as check-ins, outs, security logs, etc., through the module. And then the second would be, it improves the resident experience through having an internal portal as opposed to an external forum that everyone can join, etc. So we have discussion forums. We have all our financial statements, budgets, meeting minutes for owners to review. I mentioned it's always been positive. And the weird thing about condo management, or I guess in general, is we tend to only get negative feedback. So the lack of negative feedback is huge on our end. Like, we'll very rarely have someone come up and say, oh, thanks so much for lowering fees. But virtually everyone will come and complain if a fee has been increased. And similarly with the resident experience, if it's booking elevators or anything like that, if things are going great, we won't hear a thing from anyone. But when things don't go so great, we hear huge, or we get a huge wave of feedback, and it tends to be negative. So the lack of negative feedback, I know, doesn't sound great, but it makes our job easier. It's great to not rely on other vendors for some of these core services. So we relied on our third-party vendors to give us access to either this suite or another suite, or we always had to go through them. So I'd never had access to their portal, but they use it for their purposes. So taking that into our hands was a win-win for everyone in the building. And then the second would be, a lot of the core modules you advocate and have as selling points are things that every condo is going to utilize. Like, whether you want to or not, you need a tool to fulfill some of these things.